Good evening. We're back again. Freedom Forum 1 on the 9th month, the 19th day, the 18th year. Oh, 2018. Not the 18th year. Otherwise, we'd be in caveman clothes. To say the least that this has been an interesting week is a mouthful. I'm going to start out with a prayer because after this week, I need a lot of blessings. Dear Lord, thank you for giving me the strength to restrain myself and not be out of control last night. I know that you were looking over me. I praise you for looking over me on Monday. But most of all, we need to have you back in our schools and in our government and in our country and start looking towards you for your guidance to help us get back on track and be the kind of people and country we can be. We have all kinds of groups of people, and we know that you love everyone and care about everyone. In your name we pray. Amen. Next Acadiana Patriots meeting is October 11th. Right now I don't have all the details for that. But every year the Acadiana Patriots collect candy for the Veterans Home in Jennings for Halloween so the veterans can hand out the candy to the children that come to the home for Halloween. It's really amazing to see how the area, Jennings area, the parents step up and bring the kids there. Bring your candy donations to our next meeting in October. Or if you can't make it to a meeting, email me and we'll make arrangements if you take up a collection of candy. And email me at James, James, Crumling, Crumling, @usa.net. This will be my third year. This will be their third year of doing this. And it is such a blessing to see the joy in the veterans' faces. God bless. This weekend, the Classic Arms Production Gun and Knife Show. That will be at 4607 Johnston Street, which is the District Event Center. It's right across the street from the Courtesy GMC on Johnson Street. That's the 22nd and the 23rd, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Guns, knives, holsters, ammunition, magazine, military items, camouflage, you name it, they'll have it. I'm going to start off because everybody thinks I'm going to talk about all the drag queen stuff, but first, you know, our city marshal has 7 felony charges against him now. Well, that total has doubled. The city marshal was indicted on 7 more counts of malfeasance in office. Lafayette City Marshal Brian Pope's legal problems mounted Thursday as a grand jury handed down another criminal indictment on 7 felony counts of malfeasance in office. That's on top of the 7 felonies Pope is scheduled to be tried on in less than 2 weeks. The latest charges accuse Pope of unlawfully taking marshal office funds on 7 occasions this year from January to July. Well, that would be once a month. The total amount Pope is accused of taking exceeds $13,000. They don't say how much it really is. The indictment cites a statute prohibiting city marshals in Lafayette and Shreveport from the practice of personally receiving this revenue, unlike marshals in 16 other municipalities. That law is also cited in January 29th Attorney General's opinion, District Attorney Keith Stutz requested. The opinion is dated 2 days before the first count of impropriety in the latest indictment. A warrant for Pope's arrest was issued last Thursday, and he was not yet in custody as of 4 p.m. According to Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office spokesman, Pope's bail was set at $35,000. The chief deputy of the City Marshal's Office, Phil Conrad, said Pope was unavailable to discuss the indictment. Conrad declined further comment. An attorney representing Pope in his pending criminal trial, John McLinden, said he found the timing of the new indictment highly suspect. Nothing they do is, I don't know what their motive was, McLinden said. It's going to be hard enough to pick a jury based on all the pretrial publicity, and this will only make it harder. Stutz brushed aside McLinden's suspicions. I'm not going to have a retort or a comment to anything that counsel has said about what his assumptions are about the timing, Stutz said. These are clearly counts with alleged dates that are well after the dates of the alleged prior offenses that are presently set for trial. The new charges come as Pope prepares for his September 24th trial on 7 counts of malfeasance and perjury stemming from allegations in the civil lawsuit and his conduct during those proceedings. The lawsuit was filed by the independent newspaper which sought public records related to Pope's 2015 campaign activities on behalf of Scott Police Chief Chad Leger. Leger was running for sheriff against Mark Garber, who won the race and currently holds that office. Pope refused to turn over the records even after the 15th Judicial District Court judge ordered him to do so, leading to a finding in March of 2016 that he was in contempt of court. Pope was briefly jailed after Judge Jules Edwards revoked Pope's probation on the contempt finding, citing Pope's failure to perform community service in lieu of a 30-day jail sentence. Pope was free while appealing the jail sentence, and last month the Third Circuit Court of Appeals found that Edwards wrongly revoked his probation and gave him 2 years to do his, this case with the city marshal, 2015, and this is what, 2018? 3 years later, and still hasn't been to court. It's very, very interesting to me that that he has not been brought to court, one reason or another. What I'm going to talk about next is a very sensitive subject with some or most. The Lafayette Consolidated Government, LCG Council endorses drag event for toddlers. And there is a lot of stuff on Facebook about that. At last night's meeting, Council Clerk Veronica Williams announced to an overflow crowd that 397 people went on record regarding the library's decision to hold a drag event for toddlers. A clear 79% wanted the council to denounce the library's decision to create and facilitate such a divisive event. As promised, we presented 1,617 written petitions asking for the council to take a position on the issue. Add to that 76 speakers giving nearly 6 hours of public comments. A national petition with 17,000 signatures, a letter from state legislators Speaker Taylor Barra, Blake Miguez, Julie Emerson, Nancy Landry, and Jean-Paul Cousson, and a letter from 51 area pastors representing thousands of parishioners that were all completely ignored by the council members who decided their vote before the meeting even began. The purpose of our petition was for the city parish to take a position on the library event. and take a position they did. Sometime after 10:30 last night, the council voted not to oppose the library's controversial decision by a 6-3 vote. The three who voted in favor of the resolution to denounce the library included Jarrett Ballard, Nanette Cook, and William Terrio. The remaining 6 councilmen did not vote in support of the resolution, causing it to fail, and that was Liz Hebert, Pat Lewis, Jay Castile, Bruce Kant, Kevin Nakan, and Kenneth Boudreau. Today on social media, many of the, here it is, the Yellow Six, as they've been dubbed, have been furiously attempting to defend their votes. Time will tell how long this will be the talk of the entire parish. However, the elephants in the room remain the many, many tax propositions that these 6 council members have heaved upon upcoming elections. Will the voters remember that these councilmen put library's failed tax renewal on the ballot earlier this year in spite of a $42.3 million surplus? In November, will voters approve $11.2 million in new annual taxes for a council that said it has zero control over the departments these taxes are supposed to fund? Can these 6 council members convince the voters to overlook their drag queen vote in March of 2019 and approve a single largest tax increase in parish government history? Perhaps the biggest question of all is, will their inability to control the library affect their election efforts? There were other statistics, and I mustn't have printed that out, but what it came down to was basically 79% of the people that spoke last night were against the library. In listening, there's a lot of things. I'm trying to get these in the right sequence so that you catch and understand. On Monday night, they had the board for the library held their board meeting, which was attended by quite a few people. Quite a few people spoke. And again, the greater percentage that spoke were against the program being put on. Their message, they have no plans to intervene. After the meeting, board members told KATC's Danielle Garcia they are trusting the decision of the librarians who chose to move forward. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, I wanted to address this drag queen incident. I was officiating at a funeral, and I couldn't make that presentation. But I wanted to point out that Article 125, Uniform Code of Military Justice, and you served in the military, and many of us have, that deliberately offends it is against the Sodomy Act. Article 125, Uniform Code of Military Justice, exacts severe penalty for sodomy. And I never did even hear the word sodomy mentioned. Of course, I didn't hear the entire program because it was late at night.
Someone did bring up Gomorrah and Sodom. Somebody brought that up.
That's exactly what it is. And in Matthew, Jesus said that to offend any of these little ones, and of course, if he was speaking of children, it's better for a millstone to be tied around their neck and drowned in the sea. And these people are promoting sodomy and encouraging the youth to accept that that type of lifestyle, or to even be exposed to it. And I think it's a terrible sin, crime, and it's a disgrace to this community and to this country. And that's my opinion.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate you calling.
All right.
All right, bye. You know, and those are subjects that we walk with. I'm gonna go back to the Monday meeting. I could not make the Monday meeting and probably shouldn't have been at the Tuesday one. Monday I had a medical procedure for some blockage in my leg. Everything is okay, everything went well. And so I didn't make the Monday night meeting, but I got a couple of calls, people asking me where I was Monday night, mostly asleep. But I did go Tuesday against probably the doctor's orders, but I sat and I also spoke. I'm going to talk about Monday's meeting. After the meeting, Danielle Garcia, they are trusting the decision of the librarians who chose to move forward with the programming. I have some papers here, and I'm going to talk about the librarians. And I'm going to talk about the facts, not something that the newspaper wrote or anything. This stuff came from emails directly from the librarians. Even still, dozens of people spoke to the board and some things got heated. Research shows that transgenderism is dangerous for children, said one man who went up to speak. An audience member who later identified himself as a transgender male shot back, "It's because people like you tell us that we don't exist." I didn't find this in any of the stuff I was involved in. Nobody said they don't exist. A contentious moment over a controversial topic. Another man even got escorted out of the meeting after telling a deputy, "Sir, you can go sit down," when the deputy stood near him. The event was not on the agenda nor discussed by board members during the meeting. Programming never comes on the agenda for the board. We don't do programming. We're not going to micromanage the programming, and there's people in the library who have 30+ years of experience in setting up programs and choosing age-appropriate programs. And they've been pretty successful, said Library Board Vice President Nora Stelly. After hundreds of calls, emails, and speakers at the meeting, Library Director Teresa Elberson defended her decision to host the UL fraternities event. It's true there are always two sides. However, I feel strongly that this program is important and would have never brought it forward had I not felt that. 32 speakers came to voice their opinion. Of those, 20 were opposed. Everybody's free to do what they want, but not when it comes to my grandchildren or other 3 to 6 year olds. Why would we do this to our little kids, said one man. These people are obviously confused. I don't think they need to be bullied, but at the same time, I don't think they should be authoritative or leadership positions, said another woman, calling the cancellation of the program. And 12 were in support. We wonder if instead of teaching hate and fear, we taught our children to love, said a woman supporting the story time. Send a clear message today that the public library accepts everyone, even if you're different. No, especially if you're different, said another man to the board. The story time is still set for October 6th. And then it says tomorrow night, the meeting that I attended. And, you know, what you're going to find out a little bit later, if you didn't watch last night, is mind-boggling. And, uh-oh, I lost the page. The council vote fails on resolution opposing drag queens. The vote to oppose the approval of the drag queen story time event has failed. 3 councilman members voted yes on the resolution while others abstained from voting. Terrio, Ballard, and Cook voted yes. 5 yes votes were needed, but these people decided they didn't need to do that. Kenneth Boudreau, Bruce Conk, Kevin Nakan, Liz Weber, Jay Castile, and Pat Lewis abstained. I really have a problem with abstaining and not taking a stance. What it tells me is they take a stance, they're afraid they won't get reelected. It's just a cowardly way to do things. So, Kevin Nakan, before they voted, brought what's her name, Everson? I can't remember her name. The librarian, the director. Some of this is gonna cross what I have to tell you, but let's see. Everson, he brought her before the council before they voted and questioned her. And she singularly made the decision for this to happen. Did not prepare the board, did not discuss the board. The board got caught off guard with all of this mess. So, Kevin Nakan, I don't think he questioned her thoroughly enough because, as you're going to find out here shortly, the library lied to the people, big time. There was a thing that was put about Lafayette citizens against taxes, and they basically what their comment was is that they that basically by abstaining it was like a no vote, and they took a stance on that. Well, Kevin Nakan, who is the president of the council, got whammed pretty good on Facebook. So here's his statement. Before you start judging me or anyone else, let me tell you my thoughts. Then you can say what you want about this. You may also call me to discuss this. And if he'd like to call in, if he happens to be listening or someone knows him, I'm welcome him to call in after I read this. I know deep down and understand that it's not appropriate for kids 3 to 6 year olds. I agree. However, I feel morally it's not government to judge nor myself to judge people. So I simply say that it should fall on us as parents to make those decisions. If they feel it's appropriate for their kids or not, you don't have to participate. I like that word. You don't have to participate. That's not the point of all this. I simply will not participate by not sending my kids there. I did not approve, nor was this law to cancel or take down this issue. It was a resolution that meant nothing. And you see, that statement right there tells me where their head's at. Yes, the resolution did mean something. We wanted them to take a stand, and they abstained, which is, to me, ridiculous. I abstain with the hopes to get more legal information and find a more appropriate way of handling this. I want to ask Kevin, you've known about this for over a month, and you're stating the day after that you needed to find more information before you held this meeting? I had plenty of information because we, as a group, did our homework. And we had to inform you all what really happened and how this came about. And you're saying to find a more appropriate way of handling this to get more legal information. I am meeting with the Library Board of Control to discuss why they have not weighed in on the issue. Simply letting the director run any programs without board approval is not acceptable. And I agree that. And when I spoke to the council, I brought that up. I can't believe that they appoint 7 people and the parish president appoints the president, and they have no control over the board, but our tax money goes to run the library. Really. The program was still being put on. Our vote either way was not doing anything. Instead, I chose to fully understand all legal opportunities. LCG does not hire the library director, nor at this time can we remove. I will continue to look at all options. My morals and my heart feels that even if I disagree, it's not me or anyone to pass judgment. That is for a higher power. I teach my children that you don't have to like them and agree with them or participate or dress like them or act like them, but they are human beings and have the same rights as us. However, they should be respected and treat and respect others how you want to be treated. Thanks, Kevin Knockin. That last part, everyone that spoke that was against having this put on did not do any bullying, did not create any hate. They just stated their case. But everyone who spoke for it accused us of being small-minded, accused us of being hateful and disrespectful. They were disrespectful. No one that I saw talk last night was disrespectful to them. They were just stating their concerns for 3 to 6 year olds. That's it. So some of the people that replied to Kevin, what they do in their own home, I get it, but not public libraries. What happened with doing what is best for the children? We are child advocates. Why aren't they speaking against this? Now here's a one that says, and I'm gonna be fair and read every one that I have. Michelle, that lady, said, it's been done every Halloween, Mardi Gras, and at some charity events. Why is it okay to parade around drunk and dress like that in front of all the children to see, but not okay for someone to dress up and read a story that your children don't have to attend or won't see? It's the story that they're reading that I have a problem with. This is another person. Sorry, Kevin. Your post sounds all just and righteous, but the fact is, you are a coward. Whoa. You're right in that no one should judge, but this program should never have been library/taxpayer event. It is a travesty that our elected leaders refuse to take a stand, much less any meaningful action. Just another example of immorality insidiously creeping into our society, community, and lives. Are you okay with it? Well, I'm not. There were several professionals who spoke last night about the damage this does to children, yet you chose to ignore it. Is it okay to be indoctrinated in schools and social activities? I suspect not. To not take a stand just shows what a fraud you are. Wow. I mean, this got a little ugly. So this deal, I am a constituent and quite frankly wasn't impressed when I met you before. I will do everything in my power to make sure you're never reelected. You obviously don't care to represent my constituents. I'm reading this. These are not my opinions. I'm letting you know how people feel. Well, if the drag queens can read to little children and put ideas in their head at the public library, and this is the fear, so can groups like the KKK and Antifa. Where does it stop? The library is not the place for this madness. Go to New Orleans to view it, not here. This is not, well, we won't read that one. Can't read that on air. You are supposed to be a leader. When will you start acting like one? I thought that you brought up some interesting questions for Miss Alberson, who needs to be terminated immediately, but then you totally caved to the sodomites, and that's what they are when you abstain from voting on this matter. Very disappointed in all of you. Voters will remember this come election time. And then Kevin replied to this stuff. I am not a coward, and I am working on getting this resolved the right way, not by a resolution that has no teeth. The resolution wasn't meant to have teeth. It was meant, and see, this is the point that Kevin misses. It was meant for them to take a stand, of which 6 of them abstained. I don't get that. You know, if you say no, that's fine. But to abstain, that's ridiculous. I am also not ignoring it. I am here talking. Coward would be no response at all. So before you go judging, think long and hard before you call me names. I am a great father and a loving person to walks of all life. And before I vote or make a decision that affects anybody, I simply will do my homework by fact-finding and looking at all the angles. My reply to that, Kevin, that should have been done before last night. You should have known what we knew. You had no clue that the library actually is the one that initiated this. All I heard last night was about we were bullying them, we were being hateful, we were small-minded, and all that. So in other words, only their opinion counts and nothing we have to say does. Nobody got ugly that spoke out. Now, some people look at us and they think, well, y'all had a decent life. I'm going to give you a little history on Jim Crumley. I have a hair lip. When I was 6 years old and went to first grade, I got in my first fight. The kids were ugly. I was constantly bullied and made fun of because I had a hair lip. And that continued on in my young years. So I don't want anybody to tell me, and they can't tell me, about being bullied. Because I went through all that stuff. And I didn't have parents that did a good job at that time. When I heard all this stuff about their being bullied, nobody was bullying them last night. People were just stating their feelings and their concerns. And if that's bullying, then the whole deal has changed. But I went through a lot of crap during first, second, third, and fourth grade until my grandparents finally came and took me out of that home. And you see, it wasn't only at school that I got bullied, it was at home. And I was beat within a month of my life. And had my grandparents not come up, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And I owe my grandma and my grandfather everything for what I became as a man. And you see, sometimes people look at people and they think, you know, you don't understand. You don't know anything about this. Well, believe me, I understand bullying. I know about it firsthand. And it's not nice. But I would never act disrespectful to a drag queen. It's not part of me. I just don't want 3 to 6 year olds being indoctrinated. So I'm going to go through some sequences of stuff so that you understand how all of this came about and how the lies, and I hope I get it right. Well, let me read one other thing here while I'm on the. Someone else wrote, "No guts, no glory." Right, Councilman Nakhan. This stuff should never even be coming up for debate. In a polite society, kids or no kids, they are using a forum paid for by all the citizens of the community. As a community, the people should be wanting better for their future generations. The very idea of what is being presented here belongs in adult settings. How about let our kids grow up first before trying to sexualize them? The images they are projecting are powerful and they are very well known, and they wouldn't be doing it. Why start corrupting young minds at an early age? We saw warnings of pedophilia would be next after same-sex marriage was approved by SCOTUS. Many said it would never happen, that responsible parents and adults would never allow it. But then the same things were also being said about marriage decades ago, and it happened. So what is next? Supposing, we are slouching towards Gomorrah, to borrow a title from Judge Robert Bork, and have been. The biggest thing different now is Satan knows that his time is very limited, and he is rushing to corrupt society as quickly as he can. These are just how people feel about all this. And it's mind-boggling. There was a lot of research done on this, emails back and forth. There was a 425-page document, and I don't know if I have all of this in the correct order, but I'm going to go through it. One of the things that I'll read so you have an idea. Here is the list of books that I will be using for story time. This is Kelly. She's the children's librarian. Kelly Criddle. The names of the books are From the Stars in the Sky to the Fish in the Sea, Jacob's New Dress, and Prince and Night. Yeah, these are books they're going to read to these children. Unbelievable. This was, let's see, I got to get this right. This was sent to the, Wiltz was on board, board members, since this is from the director, Teresa Elberson. Since we are not having a board meeting this month, I need to share a few items with you so you are in the know. Our new book talk programs for September and October just went out in the mail and is being distributed in libraries. There is one program that we feel you need to be aware of. We were approached by Delta Lambda Phi group to let them do drag queen story time. We discussed and investigated and felt it was something the library should do at least once. There's the first lie, which I have documentation here. Delta Lambda Phi group did not approach the library. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, is this what's on TV right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it must be delayed. I want to say I can't hear your show. I've noticed throughout the years that your voice is very low, that you can't really hear what you're saying. And I'm being very honest. I wonder it's because you say conservative things. Is it set so low that you can't hear you?
That's an interesting.
I'm turning to channel 4 and I hear them perfectly, but I can't hear you. It's very, very low.
Well, I know that I'm speaking loud enough, and I can see the sound thing here. What cable company do you have?
LUS. It's on channel. We get channel 3 and 4. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because every time y'all are on, you can't hear you really. So if you wanted to hear you, you have to set your phone up a lot, and I think a lot of people might not go to that much trouble, if that makes sense. Because I know y'all are trying, and I know y'all are doing really good stuff.
The microphones are sitting here right in front of me. when I look at I can look in the producer's room, and I can
Uh-huh.
see right now how loud I'm talking, and it's almost all the way to the right. So
Okay, they probably need just to do it more, because I think y'all say a lot of wonderful things to help America and our community, and I think it still needs to be set up louder
and
so
it
more
could,
people can hear you, so they don't have to, I'm going to turn it up louder. But y'all keep up the
Pardon?
good work.
it's a who problem?
It's with the studio.
Studio? Yeah, the lady that was just on, it's something that has to do with this studio. But, and thank you for calling to let us know. I know that I'm speaking loud, at least I think I am, but I can tell by we have a meter in here that shows how if I talk real low, then it's low, and it don't go nowhere. But if I talk in a normal voice.
We're in the red.
Huh?
We're in the red.
We're in the red. And we've heard that issue before, so it's not the first time. So the first lie was told here that the Delta Phi group went to the library. That is not it. And I will read something a little later that disproves that in the timetable. The program is not part of our regular story program and is a special program for those who want to attend. Our write-up in Book Talk clearly states that the program is about these types of programs have been done in bigger cities and have been popular, but they do draw critics. I can tell you in my research. Go ahead.
Hi,
Hey.
Jim.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I watch you on cable, and I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
sure.
an FYI thing.
The basically, you know, she said she had LUS. Do you have LUS or Cox?
No, I have Cox.
See, and it could be a difference in that too. I know, like I can see how loud I'm talking in the producer's room because we have a deal. But anyways, I appreciate the call.
Okay. Thank you for doing such a great job and keeping us informed.
You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So, we're having sound problems tonight. It says, get closer to the mic. Tell her to turn up the volume. Get closer to the mic. The mic is right in front of me. I can't get any closer. and I don't think it's the mic.
Yeah, you're in the red. All it would be is.
Yeah,
if you get closer.
then they said they can hear me just fine. I got a couple of messages on this. It is an issue. I don't know with this room. But anyways, moving on. This is the Wording Book Talk Drag Queen Story Time. Join us for an afternoon and the advertisement, and it'll be on October the 6th from 2 to 3 p.m. One thing that reminds me of is that my Knights of Columbus have organized on that day. We are going to meet at 1:30 that afternoon on October 6th, and we're going to say the rosary and some prayers for everyone. It's not a protest. And it's not a protest. We're going to pray the rosary, and we're going to say prayers for everyone that's involved with this, not just one particular group. Now, I stated that here it said we were approached by Delta Lambda Phi group to let them do the drag. That's a lie. The director has a tendency to tell some lies and not stretch the truth. Here's what actually happened. A young man with the new LGBT fraternity on campus came to visit to do some community fun work with us at the library. I suggested maybe once a semester in either a storytime drag queen or something tamer or something where they could mentor like a code club or something like that. They were down. I have his email, but I thought that I would run that all by y'all first and see what you think. I'm totally down for once a semester PJ party with these frat boys. Pajama party? I don't see Tuesday talk coming down the pike, so here it is. And that was Meredith Crawford, the children's librarian. You see, Meredith approached them about doing this, not what, and Elberson knew this because guess what? The people Crawford sent it to were Sarah Dew and Angela Griddle, and they relayed it to the director. In grand tradition of, this is Drag Queen Story Hour. This is on Saturday, June the 9th. In grand tradition of GLBT Book Month is receiving lots of challenges to programming and displays, specifically Drag Queen Story Hours. I'm putting together a compilation of resources that I can share and don't want to miss anything great that can be used to support our colleagues' articles, blog, toolkits, etc. I have the GLB RT toolkit and www.dragqueensstoryhour.org. And that is Kristen Perkle, the Assistant Director, Office for Intellectual Freedom. That's the national organization that promotes this. So they hooked up with the national. And I'm hoping, and there's other people that did this that probably got this in a better deal. The problem is, they said they didn't know what books they were going to have. Tuesday, July 17th, 2018. This is the book I was telling Sarah about as a possibility for Drag Queen Storytime. Pink is for Boys by Rob Perlman. I haven't read it, so I'm not sure it would work. Other titles might want to check into that we own is Morris Micklewhite and the Tangerine Dress. Introducing Teddy, a gentle story about gender and friendship. My Princess Boy, a mom's story about a young boy who loves to dress up. And I am Jazz. Even if they aren't good for reading aloud, they could be included in the display. And this was Roseanne St. Roman, the Collection Development Coordinator for Youth Services at the Lafayette Public Library. Now this is Friday, July 13th. It was lovely meeting you and your friends the other day, and I'm sorry this email took me so much longer. Who was this sent to? Subject sent to Brad Parfit. Sorry this email took so much longer than planned to send. As a quick recap, here is the situation as it stands now. And then they're telling when they're going to host this thing. It says, I will choose 3 books that show gender fluidity for our book choices. Now, last night, it was emphasized that there was no gender stuff. This had nothing to do with gender stuff. And right here, in an email on July 13th, Friday, July 13th, from Angela Criddle to the Delta Lambda Phi people. I will choose 3 books that show gender fluidity for our book choices. And I will also plan the 2 or 3 extension activities for in between the books, depending on how comfortable your organization members are with it. After the story time, in lieu of a craft, our drag queens will talk to our storytime guests about what drag is and why it's fantastic. Indoctrination. There may be a G-rated drag show. This presentation is totally flexible, so whatever you or your organization decide to do for this portion will be fine. If you decide that you would rather just read books and not do a presentation afterward, then I can plan a craft instead. Here are a few books I was considering. From the Stars in the Sky to the Fish in the Sea. Ballerino Nate and the Princess Knight. That'd be great. My schedule is very busy tomorrow. I should be able to make an appearance at the library tomorrow at some time between 3 and 5. This came from Delta Lambda Fire. Here is the list of books that I will be using for story time. I read this before. From the Stars in the Sky to the Fish in the Sea. Jacob's, isn't that ironic? Jacob's New Dress. It's an inside joke here. And Prince and Knight. And that's by Criddle, the children's librarian. Oh my God, the whole hour's gone. So I'm not going to start anything new because I got some good stuff afterwards getting off of that subject. But I just want to, I got about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm trying to understand. I sincerely listened with an open mind last night, and some of the things in the research that we did that I talked about a little bit about last week, there's a high suicide rate amongst these people. What I found and felt last night is that they seem to think that we hate them and we're bullying them. And I just didn't see that. I did not see or hear anyone bullying them. The bullying came from the other side. I mean, we were called small-minded, bullying, hateful. And when I spoke, I covered that. Because I heard some of the things from the night before when I couldn't attend that disturbed me from the point of the fact that there was no bullying going on. Nobody said ugly things. The main course of this, which I think was totally missed, was the fact that we were talking about our concerns for 3 to 6 year olds. Look, everybody has a right to their opinion. One of the things that I said is everyone makes their own choices. If they choose to be drag queens, that's their choice and that's fine. But I don't think we should have some of this stuff shoved down our throats. That's my opinion. And I feel, I think the biggest thing that stuck with me is the director of the library. She was the person that made the decision for this and made the decision for all the people of Lafayette. She decides what's going to be at story time. And that's kind of like a dictatorship. And the board has, and it's so stated in the papers I just read, the board has no control over what happens at. So why do we have a board? Well, we have a board because they take and control the financials and stuff like that. But I also would think that on a subject like this, that board would want to know, because people like me, I know people on that board. I went to a board meeting after the tax thing because a couple of us got beat up pretty bad on that deal. And I sat in that board meeting. I didn't say anything. I just went to hear, but I talked to a board member beforehand and basically told them if they were a little more open on the $43 million, it might have been a different story. So people, we have the same right as they do to voice our opinion, whether they agree with us or not. When I come back the second hour, we're going to be basically off this subject and moving on to other things that are going to affect our kids. And it's real important, education-wise. So we'll